Good day everyone, welcome to this video. Today we have the Tank RB Daily Medium tasks for War Thunder. This will cover different vehicles that you could use for these tasks, and will most importantly suggest lineups as well, but of course it won't give determined, or shall we say specific vehicles to use in that lineup. But of course I will be doing a video on that in the future of different lineups that you could use to complete your daily tasks. One last thing before we begin, well, two last things before we begin. I would appreciate if people share this video, just because not only will it help others, but I feel this could just really benefit the community as a whole. And most importantly, there is a link in the Discord server, which of course I do mention a couple of times that it's best to have a squad in some of these. And generally speaking, this is the best way to do it. So feel free to join our Discord server and we will help you out. So starting us off, we have Mammoth Hunting. Destroy heavy tanks of the enemy, 6 kills. The simplest way to do this is to fight the Germans or the Russians at around 5-3. This is because Germany and Russia tend to use a lot of heavy tanks. So generally speaking, this is a simple one to do. You don't have to fight them in tanks, you can simply bomb them in aircraft if you want to. So getting this done at around that BR should be pretty simple. Next up is Slow But Sure. Destroy player vehicles using a heavy tank. 8 kills. I've suggested a few heavy tanks here, the Tiger E, the KV-85, the Churchill Mark III, and the M4A3E2. These can either bounce a shot, can kill their targets in one shot, or do both. And, well, with the M4A3, you might obviously have to use multiple shells, but generally speaking, these heavy tanks can at least take a bit of a hit if needed, and they can also dish some out in return. That's why I've picked the heavies that I have there. So those are probably the best ones that you could use for this, and you only need 8 kills for this. And with Germany, you can take both the Tiger E and the H1, so you at least have 2 heavies in that regard. Of course, you can also take the Churchill Mark III with the Mark VII, but I don't recommend that. Next up is Bird Hunt. Destroy enemy aircraft in combined battles. Bots or players, 2 kills. The Whirlwind, the R3T20, the BTR-ZD, just to name a few SPAA, even the Bosvark, they're all really good anti-aircraft vehicles, which can be multi-purpose. But of course, you can use CAS in this regard, so what I mean by that is you can use anti-CAS vehicles, such as dedicated fighter aircraft. So it's very good to have that sort of thing when it comes to really doing this task. Now, it's very unlikely you're going to run into bots, but even so, it's just something to consider. You can obviously go after a bot if there is one, even though I doubt it. But generally speaking, you should be able to have this done in 1 or 2 games at maximum. Next up is Ground Superiority. Play required number of battles where any of the streaks from the list has been received. Heavy Metal Hero, Survivor, Mission Maker, Punisher, Wingman, Heavy Metal Fury, Bulletproof, Balancer, and On Hand for 2 games. You do not have to win these. I'd personally recommend On Hand or Heavy Metal Fury with Russia 4.7, Germany 4.0, 4.3, etc. I will be covering a video in the future on lineups and everything, as I mentioned in the easy part of the task as well as the special. So do make sure to do that, and if you've not watched those videos in the playlist that I've made for this, please do go and do so. But otherwise, those sorts of nations can really bring a lot to the table, whether that be vehicles, CAS, or both. And generally speaking, getting On Hand or Heavy Metal Fury is very simple to get as long as you know what you're doing. Next up is Happy Ending, I should say. Win required number of battles with 50% or more activity. 4 or victories. Same as I said earlier, Germany 4.0, 4.3, Russia 4.7, Sweden at around 5.0, although the vehicles can be a little bit tricky. For America, 4.7 is pretty strong. Same with 6.7 for America. Just generally things like that, as long as you're consistent in them and you can at least ensure a win by helping your team, can really have this task done really quickly, so just bear that in mind. But of course, it's not just about the number of kills, you've got to help your team as well. Next is Skywatchers. Destroy SPAAs of the enemy. 2 kills. Fight Germany, use rockets to engage whirlwinds from afar. If not, do the old Wild Weasel trick. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up on Google. But essentially, it means one guy distracts the anti-aircraft, the other one kills it. Now, this isn't always effective, but it does help a lot when you're dealing with whirlwinds. And of course, rockets to engage them from afar can overpressure them. So make sure to do that if you can. Next up is Triumphator. Win a battle, take a required place in the team, place 1 to 4, 2 victories. And as long as you get wins and get placed 1 to 4 by using CAS and things like that, this can be done in pretty much anything you wish. Obviously, I've already suggested a few vehicles which can definitely do this, but generally speaking, you're going to want a good, consistent lineup that has a lot to bring to the table. Next up is Star Shower. Play a battle, destroy a required number of enemy aircraft of 1 or more aircraft kills in 2 games. This one is extremely simple. I'm even going to give you one of my tricks to do this. M22 Locust, rush a cap, jump in the F4U-1D, kill a plane, rinse and repeat. Don't forget to bring some bombs or rockets depending on it, because you can't be a one-trick pony. You've got to help your team as well. It's not just about getting the task done. You've still got to be a teammate at the end of the day. But that one's really simple to do. That's one of my little tricks to getting this done. So, yeah, pretty simple to do. Next up is One Step Ahead. Get the According to Intelligence Street required number of times, and you only need 3 of these. This is easily done in a squad. Best done in a squad, I should say. They scout, you shoot, can be done in pretty much anything. I'd actually recommend pairing them up, like pairing either Germany and Italy together, so the Italians bring the M24 Chaffee, or if you want, you can just bring up to a higher tier where someone has a Walker Bulldog and they can just scout stuff. It's really simple to do, as long as you pretty much just do that. It's simple, and it's really not that difficult. But of course, I would recommend doing this in a squad for most results. And as I said, the Discord server is open, so feel free to use that. Next up is Out of the Ordinary. Win required number of battles with the total amount of tank rescuer streaks received in every battle being greater than or equal to 2. You do need the win for this. Stay near your team, help them in situations, go to active spots on the map so you can help them. Can be done in anything, but of course you do need a win, so don't just pick Germany, because sometimes Germany doesn't always get wins, because a lot of players do tend to do one and dones, as we nickname them, so just bear that in mind. It's not always the best suggestion, but if you've got a decent lineup with your German vehicles, you can normally do some pretty decent work to help recover the team. Next up is the Best on the Ground. Play required number of battles where any of the streaks from the list have been received. Heavy Metal Hero, Survivor, Mission Maker, Punisher, Wingman. And you don't need to win this, so I'd actually go for Wingman. Don't go for kills and simply crit targets. The T-34-57 is a cracking tank for this. And trust me, I've had matches where I've gotten 6 kills in that thing and more assists than I've gotten kills, because it's just that good at doing it. So just bear that in mind. But of course, if you're going for ammo racks, then well, this will be very difficult for you to do. Generally, you just want to take out the gunner or something, and you should have this done in no time at all. Next is Pioneer. Get the series of capture streak required a number of times, base capture streak times 2. You only need 1 of this, and you don't need a win. Something fast, you can up tier a vehicle, as I said with the M22 Locust trick, but all I will say is don't just one and done this, because it can be annoying for a lot of your team, but you can obviously get this done very simply. But you must spawn in a rank 3 if you're going to up tier a vehicle, so just bear that in mind. Next is Tiger. Play a battle, destroy a required number of enemy tanks, 3 or more ground vehicles. 4 games. Simple to do, casters count for this too, anything can be used, just make sure to get 3 kills a game. If you really want to do this simply, use Germany at 4-0 or Russia at 4-7 and you will have this done in no time at all. If you really want to be a dick, you can also use something like the PVKV2 and just sit behind the map with your 15 degrees of gun depression and just start sniping people from afar. You'll be done in no time. Next up is Tactical Efficiency. Destroy player vehicles using a light or medium tank. 20 kills. Now, I've mostly suggested medium tanks for this because the light tanks can sometimes be a little bit harder to get kills in unless you're using an M24 Chaffee. So my medium tank suggestions are the T-34-57, which can also be used for assists if you're doing that, the VK-3002M, the Panther prototype, the M4A2, the Cheeto, things like that. These are all solid vehicles to which have good guns. Well, the M4A2 can be a little bit lacking if you don't know where to shoot, but you get my point. Generally, these vehicles can be pretty strong, and it can generally get the stuff done that they need to. And 20 kills, it may take a little bit, but just take your time with this. Next is Set to Work. Get the help with repairing a streak required number of times, 3 streaks. Stay near your teammates, or get a squad mate to help you by drowning their engine 3 times and then repairing them. Now, obviously, it depends on the map, and that is a little bit of an exploit, but otherwise, you can get this sort of thing done. It's not that difficult. Next up is at the top. Play battle, taking required place in a team. Place 1 to 3, 3 games. You don't need to win, just make sure you use a consistent lineup that you're comfortable with good casts and getting caps. All of those things can really benefit you in the long run. Next up is Scout. Get the intelligence streak, required number of times, 7 streaks. This is pretty simple to do, but there is obviously a little bit of a tedious side to this. So all you need to do is scout in a light tank, a friendly takes it out. It's easily done in a squad, and you can even use rank 2 light tanks such as the Puma to do this, but you must spawn in a rank 3. So make sure to do that, and it will count. So make sure to do that. Next up is Firepower. Destroy player vehicles using an SBG. And here I've made some pretty good suggestions. Su-85M, Panzer 470V, PVK-V2, M36 Jackson. These all have pretty good guns. Nearly all of them are mobile, and some can even take a decent hit or two. And of course, with them pretty much having one-shot potential, all of these vehicles are very good for that job. Next up is hard targets. Destroy SBGs of the enemy, 4 kills. Fight Germany or Russia, this should come naturally throughout playtime. Can also be done at lower BRs if you use the Star Shower technique with the M22 Locust. That's actually how I did this one at one point, so that's why I'm suggesting that. And trust me, works very well when you're shooting martyrs in the face. Next is Turret to Turret. When required number of battles for the total amount of teamwork and supporting fire streaks received in every battle being greater than or equal to 4. This just pretty much means you need to stay near your auto squad mate in a good, consistent lineup. If this doesn't work, 4-man squad this, and you'll have this done in one game, I can assure you that. It's so simple to do that, it's not even funny. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the rest of the task now. So now, we move on to the next part. Through the Fire. Destroy light and medium tanks of the enemy, 16 kills. Play normally, this will come naturally, I don't think I need to give you any advice here. But if you're really struggling, do make sure to use CAS, because CAS can obviously benefit you. And anything with 50 cals will also benefit you if you're fighting the Germans. Next is Morningstar. Win the required number of battles, getting the first strike streak in each of them. You obviously need the victory for this. Play something fast that can get into position and start firing early. This is also map dependent, so you might not get this all the time. M18 is best advised. It's one of the few vehicles that I think could easily do this. And generally speaking, when it comes to this, M18s is one of the ones that I normally see getting the first strike award, so just bear that in mind. Next up is Unexpected Threat. Destroy player vehicles using an SPAA, 5 kills. Kills against planes do count, and of course they count against tanks as well. So I've suggested a few here. Weberwind, LVKV42, ZSU37, R3T20, and if you want to really up the ante, Bosvark and ZSD6. Is it the ZSD 63 for China? And the BTR-ZD? Those are very nasty anti-aircraft vehicles. And this should be done in no time, so don't worry too much about this one. Next is Activist. When required number of battles with needed activity percent, 85% or more activity. 3 vehicles. Consistent lineups in a squad would be ideal for this, as you do need the activity. Russia 4-7 is best suited for this, as Russia 4-7 tends to get a lot of wins. Next is Vigilante. Help allied players to destroy the enemies, 12 assists. Crits and fires do count for this. Get a crit on a tank and leave it alone. Even destroy a module like Cannon Barrel is enough, as long as they don't repair it before a friendly destroys them. This can also be done in CAS as well, as I've not mentioned in there in the notes. But of course, that's just something that you can use to help you. But of course, don't go around killing everything in your plane, because you might not get everything. But make sure to not kill the targets that you're engaging in your plane, and you should have this done with no time at all. Next up is Dreadnought. When required number of battles, getting the multi-strike X2 streak in each of them. Fast reload and quick reactions here, and Star Shower trick also works, but of course you do need the win as well, so again, don't one and done this. And finally, Bullseye. Make required number of critical hits, 26 critical hits. Same as the Vigilante one, get crew member snipes and fires, anything can be used here. Again, planes do count for this in CAS, so make sure to use that as well. But I hope that covers everything that you need to know. If you have any vehicles that you use for this, or any of these tasks, do let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear some. But anyway, I'm going to leave you all to it. I hope you enjoyed today's video on the Tank RB Daily Medium task, and I will see you all on the next one.